Hi everyone, Viridian Art here. Let's get started making this fun winter project. You're going to need a pencil, an eraser, a sharpie, or just something to outline with, some sort of marker or black crayon or colored pencil. And I'm going to use watercolors to fill it in. So I have my watercolors, paintbrush, and water. You can fill it in with crayons, markers, pastels, paints, anything that you have at home. Let's start on our drawing. So I'm going to start right smack in the middle of my paper. My paper is tall like a door with a nice oval. This is going to be the top of my hot cocoa mug. So a nice round oval. Notice that it's right in the middle from top to bottom. And I'm going to make the bottom part of my cocoa mug, so almost like a smile shape right below, and connect my edges. So from one side right down to that smile shape. Just make sure that this bottom part of your mug is not bigger than the top part. They should be about the same size, or the bottom can be a little bit smaller. We are going to make gloves or mittens that are holding the hot cocoa. So these need to be pretty big. We don't want to do tiny little mittens. Make sure that these are pretty big ovals. And I'm going to overlap my hot cocoa mug. So a nice big oval, slightly overlapping my hot cocoa mug, and then you're going to erase right inside. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to move it a little bit so it doesn't look exactly the same on both sides. So this oval, I am going to slant just a little bit. Still overlapping. In every place that it's overlapping, you want to make sure to erase the hot cocoa mug inside of that mitten. On the very side of my mitten, going to the top, I'm going to make just the little thumb of my mitten. So it's just a little arch. Same thing on this side, just a little arch, so it looks like that thumb is holding behind the hot cocoa mug. We're going to do a couple more steps on our cocoa. So I'm going to make a nice arched oval shape. On the inside of my mug, this is going to show where my hot cocoa is inside of the mug. And you can add in some little marshmallows. So just two little curved lines and then straight on each side and going in different directions. They're all about the same size. You can add as many of those as you want, or you can also decorate it with some whipped cream if you'd like. So I'm going to make sleeves for my sweater. My sleeves need to be about as wide, maybe a little bit wider than my gloves. So I'm going to start on just the side of my glove and come up to the edge of my paper, and side of my glove to the edge of the paper. We don't want these to be skinny. Make sure that they're nice and wide. And from there, I'm just going to make a little loop that kind of follows the glove shape. So this is just the opening of my sleeve. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, and mine aren't the same size on both sides, the amount of space I have for my sleeve, but they are the same width. My sleeves are both the same width. And make that little curve. And time for a scarf. So very, very wide, pretty close to the edges of my paper. I made these lines coming down and a nice curved line underneath. And from there, I'm going to make a little hanging part of my scarf that starts at the top of my paper, comes down, touches my glove, and about middle of my cocoa mug, I'm going to follow that same line of the little piece hanging down. Then I can erase this part of the rectangle of my scarf that I have, because we won't see that with our little piece hanging over. So I'm going to take my Sharpie, outline everything, and then we'll worry about a design for the sweater as soon as we're done outlining. So when you're done outlining all of that, you can decide if you want any patterns or designs on your sweater or jacket. You can put in a line for like a zipper or buttons coming down, or even fun patterns to make it look like a Christmas sweater or holiday sweater. I'm going to add a line going right down the center, skip over the cocoa so it looks like a jacket. I'm going to begin painting in with watercolor. You can use any materials that you have to color in. You can even use several materials to color in. I'm going to start off using a really dark brown, and I'm going to fill in my cocoa really carefully around my marshmallows. I'm going to choose a color for my entire jacket. I'm going to use a nice bright turquoise. And I'm going to go a tiny bit darker, so I'm just using more paint on my brush right underneath these sleeves to make a little shadow. And so I'm using the same color, but just more paint on my brush. If you're using crayon or color pencil or pastel, you can do the same thing just by pressing harder. So I'm doing it under my scarf as well, and alongside my scarf right here, maybe a little bit right in these little corners. And this is going to make the arm just stand out from the rest of the jacket. Let's pick a color for our mug, any color that you'd like. I'm going to do a nice bright red mug. I'm painting right inside that rim. And I'm rinsing the brush. I'm going to go nice and dark inside of my sleeves. So just pick a color that is much darker than your jacket. So I'm just going to use a nice dark blue. Make sure you have plenty of paint, so it's nice and dark. And getting just that inner little dark section. And I will choose a color for my scarf. And once you're done with the scarf, pick a color for your gloves. So once everything is dry, if you want to add any patterns on your scarf or on your glove or your sweater or jacket, you can do that right on top of watercolor or acrylic. So you can use color pencils or oil pastels or more watercolor on top. You can even use paint on top. So I'm going to do some patterns in my scarf. So I'm just going to use maybe a darker orange and do some stripes. And this is just optional, completely up to you. And I'll continue that pattern on this part. Keep going and add as much detail and designs that you would like. I hope everyone had fun with this project. See you guys next time. Bye everyone.